This video is more of a video note. I wanted to take a moment and talk about coding standards, styles, and conventions. So, what are we talking about? Well, coding standards, styles, and conventions. Why? Everybody does things a little bit differently. Really, what they do is they get everyone doing code the same way. And what I mean by this, have you ever cleaned the house and then watch someone else clean literally the same house? You notice you do it two different ways. You may start with vacuuming where your children start with the dishes and your spouse starts with, washing the windows. Everybody does it slightly differently. So really what a coding standard or a convention does is just getting everyone doing it the same way. This is pretty popular where companies will mandate a coding style or convention. So how? How do you do this? Well, it's challenging because there are so many. And let's just pop open Google and take a look here. So we're going to go here and we're going to say, see, well, let's see. It always interests me what they pop up with automatically. I have no idea. This is just a virtual machine, and for whatever reason, it thinks I need to know about the NBA. Anyway, so we're going to say C++ coding standards. All right, so just C++ coding standards brought up a lot of results. That's just how many people have an opinion out there. So which opinion is right for you? Well, it depends on what you want. A lot of people stick with their company, or they'll go with the brutal C++ coding standards. So like, what are some good coding standards? Notice how it doesn't say what is the best coding standard. It says what are some good ones. And it talks about coding guidelines and standards and things. Really, what we're talking about here is how you type your code. Literally, that's what we're talking about. Do you name a dog dog, or do you name it underscore dog, or uppercase dog, or lowercase dog, or upper and lowercase dog? That's really what we're talking about here. So a lot of people will get really spun up about coding standards and conventions, and I wanted to put a real quick video note here that we're not going to follow any one specific standard, style, or convention, and sometimes that bothers people, but I wanted to show there's different ways of doing things. And again, simply going out to Google and looking it up, you're going to find, well, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about how this should be done. So for example, you can say C++ coding standards for Apple computers. You'll see that Apple has their own coding standard. What about Microsoft? Microsoft has its own coding standard. What about Google? Again, Google has their own coding standard. So every single company now has kind of created their own version and their own way of doing things. So I don't want you to get too hung up on any one style or standard. Everyone's going to do things a little bit differently, and every company is going to have their own style and mandate. You may see people actually comment in these videos, well, you're doing it wrong because you're not following some coding standard, style, or convention, or you should have used camel case, or this other case, or the style, or this or that. At the end of the day, it simply doesn't matter. I'm going to repeat that just for effect. It simply doesn't matter because the compiler does not care what kind of coding standard or style you used. This is simply for you, the developer, and other developers to agree upon a certain way of writing the code. In the very end of it, the compiler and linker simply do not care.